Pull up your bank statement right now. Not tomorrow. Right now, while you're watching this. I want you to actually look at it while I talk to you, because I promise you, there are charges on there you've already forgotten about. Money leaving your life so quietly you didn't even hear the door close. I know because I watched it happen to myself for 40 years, and I watched it happen to thousands of families in my work. And here's the thing nobody says plainly enough. It's not the big purchases that undo you. It's the small, invisible, automatic ones. The ones that feel so minor they don't feel like decisions at all. That's the trap. That's exactly the trap. 1. The subscriptions you pay for out of guilt. I want you to think about the last time you actually used your gym membership. Not thought about using it, used it. Put your body in that building and did something. For most of you, it's been weeks. Some of you, it's been months. And you keep paying because canceling feels like admitting defeat. Like if you cancel it, you're officially the person who doesn't work out. And as long as you keep paying, you're just the person who hasn't gone lately. That's not finances, that's psychology. And it costs you anywhere from $40 to $120 a month, every month, for the feeling of still being the person you want to be. I had a student, this was back in, maybe 1987, a junior named Kevin Mazer, one of the sharpest kids I ever worked with. And Kevin had figured out at 17 what most adults never figure out. He said to me, "Mrs. Costello, I don't pay for things I'm going to do. I pay for things I'm doing." 17 years old. I wrote that down. I still have it somewhere. Stop paying for the person you're planning to become. Pay for the person you actually are today. Cancel the gym membership if you haven't been in 6 weeks. You can always rejoin. They will always take your money back. But right now, that money is just funding your fantasy of yourself, and fantasy is a very expensive hobby. This applies to streaming services too. Go count them. Most households are paying for 4 to 6 streaming platforms and actively using 1.5. You know this is true. The others are there for that one show, or we might want it in the summer. Pick 2, maybe 3 if you genuinely use them. Cut the rest. That's $30 to $80 a month back in your pocket every single month for doing almost nothing. 2. The convenience fees you've stopped noticing. Here's something that crept into modern life so gradually that most people don't even recognize it as a category of expense anymore. You now pay extra for everything you once paid for once. Delivery fees, service fees, convenience fees, processing fees, the fee for paying online, the fee for not paying online, the resort fee that appears on your hotel bill after you already paid for the hotel. These aren't occasional costs. They're baked into your life now, quietly, like a second property tax nobody voted on. I want to be careful here because I'm not going to tell you to stop getting food delivered or stop ordering things online. That's not realistic, and I'm not naive about how life works now. But I want you to be conscious of it, deliberate, because there's a difference between choosing to pay a convenience fee because it's genuinely worth it that day and paying it 43 times a month because you never stop to notice. The delivery apps are the worst of this. The menu price is higher than the restaurant price. Then there's a delivery fee. Then there's a service fee. Then there's a tip. By the time that $15 meal arrives at your door, you've paid $26 for food that's slightly cold and arrived in a bag that's a little damp. Is it worth it sometimes? Absolutely. My granddaughter orders food delivered and she's feeding 3 kids under 7, and on a Tuesday at 7 in the evening, yes, that convenience fee is a bargain. But if it's happening 5 times a week because cooking feels like too much trouble, that's not a convenience fee. That's a lifestyle tax you're paying for avoiding discomfort. Start looking at what you're actually paying for each order, not just the food price, the total. Make the decision with real numbers. 3. The financial products quietly eating your interest. I worked in Pittsburgh public schools for 38 years. I counseled kids about college financial aid, about trade school loans, about what their parents should have done differently. And the pattern I saw over and over was not that people were reckless. It was that they were inattentive. Credit card interest is the most quietly destructive force in middle-class finances. And I say this with complete certainty because I've watched it work on people I cared about for decades. Here is the mechanism, and I want you to actually hold this in your mind. You buy something for $300. You make the minimum payment, and 2 years later, you have paid $540 for that thing, and you still owe $40. You paid nearly twice the original price for something you probably don't even own anymore or don't remember buying. That's not a debt. That's a punishment for not paying attention. Now here's the thing I want to say about this that most financial advice skips. It's not your fault you don't fully understand it. Nobody taught you. Schools didn't teach it. Parents often didn't know it themselves. The banks designed these products to be confusing because confusion is profitable for them. But understanding it now, today, is absolutely your responsibility. You're an adult. You have access to information. The moment you understand how compound interest works against you, you can never unknow it. And you have an obligation to yourself to act on it. If you are carrying a balance on a credit card with 18, 22, 26% interest, that is the single most important financial problem in your life right now. Not your 401k allocation, not whether you should refinance. That credit card balance. Pay it off, aggressively, before almost anything else, because every dollar of that debt is actively multiplying against you while you sleep. Anthony, my husband, he was a proud man, wonderful man, but he was the kind of man who didn't like to talk about money trouble, because talking about it made it real. We went through a period in the late 70s, early 80s, when the steel industry was collapsing, and his cousin had brought us into a business investment that went bad. And we had credit card debt we didn't talk about for almost 3 years. 3 years. And by the time we laid it out on the kitchen table and actually looked at the numbers, what had started as $4,000 had grown to nearly $11,000, and neither of us had been paying attention, and we both felt sick. We paid it off. It took 2 years of very lean living, but we paid it off, and we never carried credit card debt again after that. Look at your statements. Know your interest rates. Say the number out loud. 22%, 26%. Make yourself hear it. 4. The insurance you're either overpaying for or dangerously undercovered by. This one goes in 2 directions at once, which is why most people get it wrong. Some of you are paying too much for insurance because you've never shopped it. You signed up for car insurance in 2019, set up auto pay, and haven't thought about it since. Insurance companies do not reward loyalty. They reward new customers. Your neighbor who just signed up is paying less than you for the same coverage because she just called and asked. Call, ask, shop it. You could save 15 to 40% on your car insurance with one phone call. One phone call and 20 minutes of your life. I have known people who saved over $1,000 a year doing this, and they did it once and never did it again. Do it every 2 years. Put a reminder in your phone right now. Call insurance company. That's all. Just those 3 words. But here's the other side of this, and it's more serious. Some of you are underinsured in ways that could devastate your family financially, and you don't know it because you haven't looked. A medical event, a serious one, can erase a lifetime of savings in months. I have watched this happen. I watched it happen to people I worked with, people I knew well, people who did everything right financially for 40 years, and then had one catastrophic illness, and it was all gone. disability insurance, long-term care insurance, umbrella policies. These aren't just products financial advisors sell to frighten you. They are real protections against real catastrophic events that happen to real people all the time. I'm not telling you what to buy. I'm telling you to have the conversation. With a fiduciary advisor, someone legally obligated to advise in your interest, not their commission interest. Know what you have. Know what you don't have. Know what you'd be exposed to if something happened tomorrow. The money you save by canceling unnecessary subscriptions and shopping your insurance rates can fund the protections you're actually missing. This is how you do more with the same income. 5. The small daily purchases that don't feel like purchases. There's a category of spending that your brain genuinely doesn't register as financial decisions. It registers them as just life, just existing, just getting through the day. The coffee, the parking, the vending machine, the "I'll just grab something at the airport," the second bag of chips at the checkout, the app purchase, the in-game purchase, the one-click buy at midnight when you couldn't sleep. None of these feel like choices because they're so small and so frequent that your brain stops assigning them weight. But I want you to try something. For 1 month, just one, write down every purchase under $20. Not to punish yourself, not to judge yourself, just to see, just to make visible what is currently invisible. Most people who do this are genuinely shocked, not horrified, shocked, because the number is so much higher than what they imagined, and they realized they were making dozens of financial decisions every week on complete autopilot. Here's the thing I want you to understand. I'm not telling you to stop buying coffee. A $5 coffee that you genuinely enjoy, that punctuates your morning in a way that makes you feel human, that is money well spent. Joy is a legitimate use of money. Pleasure is a legitimate use of money. But the coffee you buy because you're bored, because it's a habit, because walking past the shop feels like the only option, that's different. That's not pleasure, that's just motion. Know the difference. Make the decision consciously. That's all I'm asking. Anthony used to say there were 2 kinds of spending. Spending with your whole self and spending with the part of your brain that just wants the day to stop being hard. The second kind is where the money disappears without a trace. He was right about that. He was right about a lot of things I didn't always admit in the moment. 6. The money sitting in accounts where it's earning nothing. I want to ask you something directly, and I want you to actually answer it, not just nod. Do you know what interest rate your savings account is paying you right now? Most people don't. Most people have a checking account and a savings account at the same bank they've been at since they were in their 20s, and the savings account is paying them 0.01% interest, which means if you have $10,000 sitting there, you earned $1 this year. $1 for $10,000. That's not saving. That is literally paying the bank to hold your money while inflation quietly erodes it. This is not complicated to fix. High-yield savings accounts are available at several reputable online banks. I won't name specific products here because rates change constantly, but they exist, and they're federally insured, and they pay dramatically more. We are talking at various times 4 to 5% interest, sometimes more, on money you're not touching anyway. The money is just sitting there. It could be working. The $10,000 that earned you $1 could earn you $400 to $500 a year just by existing in a different account. That's not an investment. That's not risky. That's just choosing not to leave money on the table. Now, if you have money beyond your emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of living expenses, liquid, and you have no high-interest debt, then you have a more interesting conversation to have about what that money should be doing. And that conversation involves someone who has credentials, who has a fiduciary duty to you, not a YouTube video. But the first step is simply knowing where your money is and what it's doing. You work for your money. Your money should work for you, even a little, even modestly. That's not greed, that's basic stewardship. 7. The financial decisions you keep postponing because they feel overwhelming. Here is the one that will cost you the most over the longest time, and it's not a product or a service or a subscription. It's the conversations you keep not having and the decisions you keep not making because the whole subject feels too large and too anxiety-producing, and you'd rather just deal with it later. The will you haven't made. The beneficiary designations you haven't updated. The estate plan you keep saying you'll deal with when things calm down. Let me tell you something about things calming down. They don't. Life does not pass through a calm period where you suddenly have time and clarity and no competing demands. That calm moment you're waiting for is not coming. You do it in the middle of the mess, or you don't do it. And the cost of not doing it can be catastrophic to the people you love most. I've seen families torn apart, not by malice, but by ambiguity, by the absence of a document, by nobody knowing what the person wanted because the person always meant to write it down, by one child inheriting a burden of decision-making that should never have been theirs alone. I've seen adult siblings not speak for years over the unresolved estate of a parent who simply kept postponing paperwork. Do not leave this to your kids. Do not leave it to chance. Do not assume your spouse knows what you want, or that what you want is obvious, or that the state you live in will make decisions consistent with your values. Make a will. Update your beneficiaries on your 401k, your life insurance, your bank accounts. These do not pass through a will. They go directly to whoever is named, regardless of what your will says. So if your ex-spouse is still named on your life insurance from 2008, your ex-spouse gets that money. Not your children, not your current partner, your ex. Go look at this today. Today. And the retirement savings you're not contributing to at the maximum you can afford, every year you wait is a year of compound growth you never get back. I know there are seasons of life where money is genuinely tight and maximizing retirement contributions isn't possible. I'm not talking to those people right now. I'm talking to the people who have disposable income but haven't gotten around to increasing their contribution rate. Increase it by 1% this year. Just 1%. You probably won't notice it in your paycheck. Set a calendar reminder for January to increase it by 1% more. Do this every year for 5 years, and you will have transformed your retirement position in ways that feel almost impossible to believe now. The money you don't spend on unused subscriptions, on convenience fees you could avoid, on credit card interest you could eliminate, on insurance you're overpaying, that money doesn't have to disappear. It can be redirected toward debt, toward savings, toward a future self who is less afraid. People ask me sometimes, my granddaughter's friends mostly, when they come over and find themselves in a conversation with an old woman who used to do this for a living, they ask if I have regrets about money. And the honest answer is yes, but not the ones you'd expect. I don't regret the things we spent money on. The trip to Ireland in 1978, just Anthony and me, before the kids were old enough to really travel. I would spend that money 100 times over. The piano lessons for Lisa that she hated for 3 years and then loved for the rest of her life, worth every cent. The counseling we went to in the 80s when our marriage was genuinely in trouble, one of the best investments we ever made. What I regret is the years I spent vaguely anxious about money without ever getting precise about it. The years I paid bills without really understanding our full picture. The years we postponed the estate planning conversation because it felt morbid, until Anthony's stroke in 2019 made it urgent, and we did it in a hurry under terrible conditions. Precision isn't the same as obsession. You don't have to think about money all the time, but you do have to think about it sometimes, clearly, with real numbers and real decisions. The anxiety of avoidance is so much worse than the discomfort of knowing. I've believed this my whole professional life, and I've lived it personally too, and I'm telling you it's true. You are not failing because your finances aren't perfect. You are only failing if you refuse to look. I want to end with something that isn't about any of these 7 things specifically. It's about the larger pattern underneath all of them. Every item on this list has the same root. Something that once required a decision has become automatic. Something that used to be a choice you made deliberately has become a default you never revisit. And money, your money, money you traded hours of your life to earn, quietly leaves through all these small automatic doors while you're busy living. Reclaiming it doesn't require a personality overhaul. It doesn't require becoming a frugal person or a disciplined person or a person who is fundamentally different from who you are now. It requires 30 minutes, once, to look at your bank statement and your subscriptions and your interest rates and your insurance and your beneficiaries. 30 minutes, one time, and then maybe a few hours over the course of a year to make some phone calls and some decisions. That's not discipline, that's just deciding to pay attention. I am 92 years old, and I have had a lot of time to think about what I wish I'd known earlier. And I can tell you that financial peace, not wealth, just peace, is one of the most underrated gifts you can give yourself. Not because money is the most important thing, it isn't, but because financial anxiety is a constant, low-grade noise that makes everything else harder. Quiet the noise, look at the numbers, make the decisions. Your future self will thank you for it.